There comes a strange and beautiful hour in life when you no longer need to be understood, when the quiet parts of you, the ones that never made sense to anyone, begin to feel like sacred ground. You stop reaching to explain, to clarify, to fit yourself inside the world's eager expectations. You start instead to tend to your own silence, watering the places within you that have been waiting decades for your return. And maybe this is what aging really is. Not a decline, not a fading, not even a blossoming, but a return to your own mystery. Not the mystery of youth, full of fire and reaching, but the mystery of dusk, the mystery of oceans that have stopped announcing their waves. Somewhere past the age of 60, something shifts. It doesn't happen on a birthday. It doesn't arrive with fanfare. It slides in quietly, like moonlight at the corners of your memory. And if you're gentle enough, you begin to notice it. It's not just grace that settles in, it's strangeness, depth, a kind of holy otherness that only time can make. You begin to feel less like a person in motion and more like a poem in translation. And so begins a slow, poetic becoming of aging with mystery. Her name was Margaret. She had lived many lives by the time she turned 74. Widowed once, divorced once. She had worked in a library for 30 years, raised 2 children, and painted quietly in the evenings, never showing her work to anyone. She had never traveled far, but her mind had. Her heart had. There was something about her presence. People said they felt calmer near her, but also curious. Like there was something she knew that couldn't quite be named. She wore blue sweaters in winter and sat by the window with her tea, watching birds as if they were messages from another world. One afternoon, her granddaughter asked her, "Nana, why don't you ever talk much about your past?" Margaret smiled in that soft way older women smile, not to hide something, but to protect it. To be honest, she said, some stories grow more beautiful when they're left in the soil. They blossom differently when you stop trying to explain them. And then she sipped her tea and said no more. But in that silence was an entire world. There is something quietly radiant about people like Margaret, people who age not with need to remain known, but with a gentle willingness to become unknowable again. There's a difference between aging with grace and aging with mystery. Grace makes peace with what's past, but mystery makes space for what's still unspeakable. Grace forgives the wrinkles, the slowness, the changing roles. Mystery embraces them like secrets being slowly revealed. Aging with mystery means you no longer need to be impressive. You only need to be true. It means you let your contradictions live side by side, the sacred with the silly, the sorrow with the song. It means you stop translating yourself into someone else's language. You let yourself remain untranslated, unreadable, sometimes even to yourself. And that's where the real power begins. You begin to feel the softness of dusk as a form of wisdom. You stop needing answers. You begin listening more to questions that have no name. Like, why do some memories come back in colors and others only in scent? Why does a heart feel heavier in spring, even when everything is blooming? Why is it that some regrets feel strangely holy, like reminders of who we once tried to be? You don't ask these things expecting replies. You let them echo like the sound of your own soul breathing beneath the years. This is how mystery walks in, barefoot, gentle, never knocking. You don't even notice her at first. You just realize one day you no longer feel the need to be understood at all. You might stop wearing makeup, not as a rebellion, not as a statement, just because the world no longer requires you decorate your truth. You might start speaking slower, not out of tiredness, but because there's less urgency to fill the air with noise. You might reread books you loved when you were 30 and realize you missed the best parts the first time around. You might find yourself crying at strange times, not from sadness, but from some old emotion finally getting the space to breathe. Aging with mystery is not about knowing more, it's about needing less. And in that emptying, something sacred arrives. You remember things you thought you'd forgotten. The smell of your grandmother's kitchen, the sound of gravel under bicycle wheels, the quiet heartbreak of waiting by a phone that never rang. These things don't come back as memories. They come back as feelings unspoken, unexplained, but suddenly alive again. It's as if your soul starts gathering its pieces, not to understand them, but to bless them. You become a collector of small, unnameable truths, not the ones that fix anything, but the ones that shimmer quietly at the edge of your awareness. You learn to befriend silence, not the silence of loneliness, but the silence of fullness, of having nothing left to prove, of knowing your life has meant something, even if no one else ever fully saw it. There's a kind of beauty that doesn't want to be captured. It slips through language. It resists categories. It can't be posted or pinned or praised. This is the beauty of aging with mystery. You become harder to describe, but easier to feel. You're no longer someone's idea of a role. You're no longer trying to be relevant or relatable. You become a presence, a whisper, a kind of soul weather. People may not notice you in the way they once did, but when they sit near you, they feel something shift in them. They don't know why, and neither do you, but it's real, and it's enough. Perhaps the most sacred part of aging is that you begin to belong to yourself in ways you never did before. Not because everything makes sense now, but because you stop trying to make it make sense. You at the loose ends remain loose. You at the untold stories remain soft. You find yourself spending more time near trees, water, birds, not because they teach you something, but because they too are content to exist without explanation. You begin to pray less with words and more with presence. You walk slower, not out of frailty, but reverence. You speak to fewer people, but with deeper honesty. You start to see time not as a thief, but as a strange, kind sculptor, carving away what was never truly yours. There's no right way to age, but there's a real way, and it has nothing to do with youthfulness. It has everything to do with presence, with surrender, with becoming a kind of mystery even you can't solve. Aging with mystery doesn't mean vanishing. It means glowing in ways the world doesn't know how to measure. It means holding your stories like pearls in your pocket, not to show, but to feel. To finger gently when no one's looking. To remember that you've lived, that you are still living, that the mystery isn't over yet. So, if you've grown quieter lately, if you find yourself forgetting names, but remembering feelings that once had no room, if you no longer care about being admired, but deeply care about being real, if your days feel simpler, stranger, softer, and somehow more sacred, then perhaps you, too, are aging not just with grace, but with mystery. And what a wonder that is. May you allow the parts of yourself that were never named to become your truest companions. May you walk gently in your own mind, like a traveler who knows the terrain but still marvels at the moss between the stones. May you no longer seek to be understood, but simply to be whole. And may those who sit beside you feel the soft weight of your presence, not loud, not large, but deep and quiet, and full of something they can't quite name. And may you smile when they ask you who you are now, and say nothing at all, because sometimes the most mysterious answer is to let your being do the speaking. If this has stirred something quiet in you, if you felt your breath slow as the words unfolded, then maybe, just maybe, you are right where your soul wants to be, still becoming, still blossoming, still unknowable in the most beautiful way. Come sit here a while longer. No need to say a word. Just bring your silence. It's holy here.